Meantime, back to New York, where the grand jury is investigating President Trump's hush money payment. Their case, that grand jury, is back at work, and it appears they heard new testimony today from David Pecker. He's the former National Enquirer publisher who helped orchestrate a deal between Mr. Trump's former lawyer and Stormy Daniels. Photographers took this picture of him leaving the courthouse in Manhattan today. Meantime, the former president renewed his criticism of District Attorney Alvin Bragg in a post on Truth Social. Mr. Trump wrote, "Every prosecutor and the FEC, Federal Election Commission, who looked at this case took a pass." That happens to be true. 1 year ago, Alvin Bragg said no way. Now he's looking at it again. He should prosecute Mark Pomerantz and Cohen being Mr. Trump's former lawyer. Former president took a softer tone in that post after suggesting last week there would be death and destruction if he would be indicted. He also made the possible indictment a huge centerpiece of his rally in Waco over the weekend.
But this is really prosecutorial misconduct. That's what it's called. The innocence of people makes no difference whatsoever to these radical left maniacs.
It's almost like 2015 all over again. Trump says some crazy things at a rally on Saturday. On Monday, the media melts down, claiming this time he's gone too far, and yet he did win the presidency in 2016. Sophia Cai is here, congressional reporter for Axios, who was on the plane with Mr. Trump to and from Waco. It's nice to see you. We appreciate it. Give us a sense, when you were on the plane, what is the strategy among the Trump campaign about making his prosecution, making so much of his case to be president about him?
He really decided to paint a picture of what he calls prosecutorial misconduct. And that was the main theme of the first 30 minutes of his rally. And you really saw him kind of making 2 points here. You know, on the one hand, trying to be this strong, defiant person to show his voters that he can represent them. And on the other hand, sort of railing and saying this is unfair. There was a lot of complaining going on about both the current investigation as well as previous investigations and impeachments.
Give us a sense of the crowd. Did it respond in the same way we saw in 2016, even in 2020, to this? And did they respond more to sort of his anger about the prosecutions or to whatever he was talking about the country and the people in the audience's lives?
I think that the crowd just wants to be there to support him. I'm not sure, they know the names of the specific prosecutors that Trump was naming, and trying to shame. But they wanted, they happily took those signs that say witch hunt. That's definitely a new sign that I've not yet seen before. The crowd was many thousands strong, and they were really into it. He spoke for around 90 minutes, and it was both about those investigations as well as he was railing on DeSantis, the Florida governor who is likely to enter the presidential race.
Yep.
And as well as other policies, he kind of hinted at those as well. And I should note that
dealing with him on the plane. Was he more focused on the investigations and on himself? Is he relishing this fight with prosecutors, or was he more focused, at least in some ways, on trying to win the White House?
I think that's part of his fight to win the White House. I asked him directly. I said, "Look, how is this going to change your campaign strategy?" And he said, "Oh, it's unfair. It's a fake investigation." So you can see him already incorporating it into his campaign. They are now one and the same because of how he views this.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.